I'm Kirk Bushenfeld, president of the Natick Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd like to welcome you all here tonight to this great event. This is our third annual Hall of Fame. And Natick has, as I say, the first 2 years, Natick has such a tradition, such an outstanding tradition of outstanding athletes, coaches, contributors, teams. There are so many of them, and it's going to take a while to get all the deserving people in. So before we even start with this year's inductees, I'd like to ask the inductees who are here from the first and second year if they could stand up and be recognized. That being said, this year's inductees are some of the greatest athletes and teams and contributors that Natick has ever seen. I think we have an outstanding event planned for tonight. But prior to getting to the food and then to the inductees, I need to thank a number of people and organizations that put a lot of hours, a lot of effort and money into making this event possible. First off, the executive committee, if they could stand, Bobby Annabali and Bob May, both directors of the executive committee. Mary Johnson, our secretary. And Mike Fair, our treasurer. Also, there are a number of the members of the selection committee. If they could all stand, please, and be recognized. Selection committee for the Hall of Fame. Please stand. These three businesses helped us in selling the tickets. Not only was it on eBay, or not eBay, but PayPal, but Jones's Drug, Casey's Diner, and Fair and Yeager Insurance all helped us by selling tickets for this event. These individuals or organizations helped and have donated their time and efforts. Impressions Printing of Metro West, who did all of our printing, including the booklets that you have here at the table. Natick Awards Unlimited, who did all of the plaques and the paperweights that will be given out to the inductees tonight. Pedal Push's Floral Studio for the flowers. Natick Pegasus and Brian Palm in the back. Paradise Photo and Video, Lou Glass is here taking photos, down here in front. Lisa DiPaolo, who did photograph reproductions as well. She's doing some video. I don't see her, but I know she's here. Henry Masser, who was not able to be here tonight, along with Peter Mundy, who's in the back, for putting together the video that the recipients will receive tonight as well. And a lot of time and effort went into putting that together, and it's a great, actually what was going on the TVs outside was done by those two gentlemen, and right here as well. And then sponsors who gave money to help put this on, starting with our MVP, John Everett and Son Funeral Home, the Bianchi family, Fair and Yeager Insurance, Middlesex Savings Bank, Roach Brothers Supermarkets, Bill's Pizzeria, Brandt Jewelers, David Brown, John Crisafulli, Phil Corsell, John Fanara from Fanara Barbershop, Francesco de Sanctus Lodge, number 1411, Pat and Claire Haswell, Jim Keating, Little Bits Toys, and Peter Reynolds. We thank all those individuals. Again, without their efforts and their money, this would not be possible. At this time, we are going to see if we can do this in an orderly fashion. The staff here at the hotel are going to go table to table. We want to ask that the inductees tables go first. There are 3 serving areas, and they will go from table to table, and when they come to your table, we'll have you get in line. So at this time, we want to eat, and as we get towards the coffee and dessert, I'm going to come back up again to introduce our MC for tonight. Thank you. At this time, before I introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Representative Linsky was not able to make it here tonight, but he did have these from the House of Representatives, these citations, and I'm just going to read one, and we'll be giving one to each of the individuals as they come up. It says, "The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincere congratulations to whoever in recognition of your dedication to Natick High School athletics and your induction into the Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune, continued success in all endeavors. This day, the 26th day of April, 2012, Robert DeLeo, Speaker of the House, and Representative Linsky. Again, he sends his best to all of the inductees and all of the people here. I know that many of you know him. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it. He's in doing State House business. So each one of you will receive one of these when you come up. At this time, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Susan Warnick, Channel 5, but more importantly, from Natick High School. Absolutely. Now, last year, those who were here remember, I do not have any pictures up there. I promise I wouldn't do it again, but I thought it was great last year having some of your high school pictures up here. But without further ado, Susan Warnick.
The reason there are no high school pictures up there of me in all of my various athletic organizations is because there were none. Thank you for that lovely introduction, truly. I'm always a little concerned, excuse me 1 minute. I've seen the profile one too many times, you know what I mean? These days, whenever anybody introduces me, I'm always like a little, because I'm afraid they're going to say, and now, ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Susan Warnick, the oldest living anchor woman in the universe. But I'm proud of it. But mostly what I'm proud of, my roots. I love Natick. I love Natick High. I love the fact that I am a graduate, class of 67, with John Moran, who's sitting right down here in the front. Sorry, buddy, 63? I'm talking about your age. You are shut off. And it's so nice to see so many of you who were here last year. This is something that we should have started doing, I think, a long time ago, because Natick is one of the few communities, not only just in this state, but in this country, with a stellar record of not only great athletes, but wonderful human beings. And you never hear the bad stories about the Natick athletes. You only hear the good stories. Right. Let's really. Somebody came up to me before during dinner and said, "Susan." I said, "Yes." And she said, "So you're back this year?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You were here last year." And I said, "Yes." She said, "You were very funny last year." And I said, "Thank you." She said, "So I went home and I watched you on television." And I said, "Thank you." And she said, "You're not that funny on TV." And so I said, "Well, it's a little hard being funny on the news. You know, the news is not that funny. You know, or another 3-car accident, another fire in Jamaica Plain. You know, it just doesn't work out that well." So I said, so it's, it's a little difficult. So she said to me, try harder. And then she walked away, and ma'am, you know who you are. But I thought, isn't that the perfect message for tonight? Try harder. I mean, that's what we always did in Natick. Always tried harder. And the only other thing I want to mention is thanks to so many of you who've asked about my mom. Myrna Billion, 97 years old, is in great health. Thank you very much for asking about her. Thank you. We got off a plane last night from Florida. I took her to Florida for a week. She actually would have been here tonight had she been invited. No, of course she's invited. She's invited to everything that's Natick and everything, of course, that I do. But Thursday night's a big mahjong night for Myrna Billion, okay? Just so you know. Last time I got engaged, I said, Mom, I'm getting married. And she said, well, I hope it's not Thursday. So anyway, but she sends her love to everyone, especially our first honoree tonight, Jim Archer, because she has known Jim for so many years. Let me just tell you a little something about Jim that you won't read anywhere else. Jim taught me how to swim. It's true. Willingly. He didn't have to pull me up by the back of my hair at Doug Pond, as others have before him. But it was the Natick Country Club 100 years ago. And I was taking swimming lessons, and this hunk was teaching the swimming lessons. And you know what? You still are, honey. You're a hunk. And it's okay. His whole family knows we have a thing. He is one of the few I did not marry. Let me just tell you a little something about my friend Jim, class of 1956, being honored tonight for being, to say he's a contributor just doesn't even cover it. He is a lifetime contributor to the Natick Public Schools and athletics. From 1981 to 82, he was the president of the Natick Memorial Field Lighting Committee, which raised funds to light and irrigate the football field, practice field, soccer field, and also the parking areas. He chaired the committee for the John Carroll Plaque at Memorial Field, co-chaired the Doug Flutie Day Parade and Mall event. He chaired the fundraising committee for the Natick High School 1982 and 83 Super Bowl championship team jackets, the rings, the cheerleader necklaces, as well as 2 banquets. Named the John N. Carroll Baseball Complex at Mahan Field in 2002 to 2008, he was president of the John Carroll Memorial Scholarship and the Golf Classic Tournament Foundation. Also a former member of the Natick Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Essentially, there is nothing when Jim Archer is asked to which he says no. And please help me honor and thank him tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Archer.
Jim Archer, from the class of 1956, has been a lifetime contributor to the Natick Public Schools and Natick Athletics. From 1981 to 1982, he was the president of the Natick Memorial Field Lighting Committee, which raised funds to light and irrigate the football field, practice field, soccer field, and parking areas. He chaired the committee for the John N. Carroll Plaque at Memorial Field. He co-chaired the Doug Flutie Day Parade and Mall event. Jim Archer chaired the fundraising committee for the Natick High School 1982 and 1983 Super Bowl champion teams, jackets, rings, cheerleaders, necklaces, and 2 banquets. From 2002 to 2008, he was the president of the John N. Carroll Memorial Scholarship and Golf Classic Tournament Foundation and was instrumental in naming the John N. Carroll Baseball Complex at Mahan Field. Jim Archer is also a former member of the Natick Athletic Hall of Fame Selection Committee. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1956, Jim Archer.
Well, thank you, Susan. Kirk and the members of the Hall of Fame committee, you certainly have outdone yourself. You've continued all the hard work in bringing this group together. And congratulations to this year's deserving fellow inductees. They're really legends, and I'm very proud to be included with such an outstanding and legendary group of inductees. You have certainly added so much to Natick's rich fiber and reputation as the home of champions and the Natick Redmen. 'Cause, 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 'cause You know, it's very easy to work hard and persistently for something worthwhile that will enrich our community and certainly will promote the ideals, traditions, and the Natick spirit. I believe in Natick wholeheartedly. And of course, Susan just took all of my thunder, but that's all right. With I'm so proud to hear all of the coaches that have been inducted and the mentors we've had. Natick has just had such a rich culture, and it's a community that, you know, I'm really pleased to be a part of all my life and serve wherever I could, because, you know, people have put a lot of time and effort into the facilities. We have great contributors in terms of financially. In fact, I've gotten to know all the bank presidents real well, and they've been just incredible. Every time we walk in the door, it's, how much is this going to cost me, Jim? You know, but it's when we got the first Super Bowl jackets and rings and pendants for the cheerleaders, it was $25,000 had to be raised in a very short period of time. People came through like champs, and of course, I decided that one time I was going to give the banks a chance to just relax because they're being hit up for everything. So we had a new bank that came in where Optica is on Main Street. It was a branch of a bank, I think Norwood Savings. Well, Norwood had won the Super Bowl the year before, and I had heard that the bank had given them $20,000. So we were looking for 25 because we picked out jackets that the kids are still choosing to use now, you know, with the leather arms and insulated and the whole thing. So I went over to the bank manager and asked him, I says, you know, you're a new guy in town, you want to get established. I says, how would you like to make a contribution to our Natick Super Bowl team? You know, it was a big deal. And he says, oh, geez, he says, what are you looking for? I said, I don't know, $25,000 would be a big help. And I said, it's going to be kind of expensive. And he said, oh, geez, we're just a branch. He says, I said, well, I know that the home office did that in Norwood last year. So he says, well, look, let me give a call. But he says, don't hold out any hope. So I went home. And in 45 minutes, my phone rang. And he says, Mr. Roger, I don't believe this is happening. He says, the president agreed to give you the $25,000. Well, I said, oh, great, you know, this is going to cut down all the solicitation. Well, the first thing I do, Bob Potter calls from Middlesex Savings. Jim, you know, we're on the Recreation Commission together. He says, what are you doing? I says, what? I'm trying to give you guys a break. Don Guile from Natick Trust calls. Jim, you know, what's going on? He says, you always have come here, and we've been very fair and have contributed. And then Brian Peoples called. Same thing. I says, holy mackerel. And they were upset. So I said, well, look, the cheerleaders wanted pendants, and I didn't have that budgeted. So I said, there's something you can do about the pendants. And I said, we haven't covered the banquet. So I said, there's some, you know, somebody can come up with that. So they all, you know, chipped in, and they were happy. And I said, geez, it's the first time that I thought we were doing them a favor, and they came through. But I just have to, I wanted to mention that I'm very proud of all of our teams and the people that are being inducted. And I'd like to give a special thank you to my family for all their support and patience, especially to my wife of 49 years, who, you know, enabled me to do the types of things that we're able to get involved with. And I'm sure that she's with us in spirit and smiling. So in closing, I'd just like to say, again, thank you for this wonderful honor and tribute. I am most humbly grateful, and may God bless you all, and good luck and good health to all of our new inductees. Thank you.
As Jim was talking, it reminded me, I not only went to Natick High, but I went to Wilson Junior High, I went to Lilja. I mean, I'm a real product. I didn't just sneak into town. And one of the stories that we've loved to pass the last many years is that I was probably the only student at Wilson Junior High who had Vi Tatuni as a teacher. The reason being is that Vi Tatuni taught at Coolidge. But we have managed to have people believe that she was my teacher. And I need to tell you that tonight because Vi is here, and I always want to give her a shout out. Vi is sitting right in the middle. One of the great teachers of Natick. Are any of the other teachers here? Anybody I didn't see? Miss Levitt is usually here, and anyway, but don't please make sure. Pass me notes. I want to know who's here because they should all. I want to be able to. Why don't we just go around the room, have everybody stand, say a little something about yourselves. Our next honoree, Junie. Everybody knows Junie. Junie Franchos. His real name is James. He's a three-sport athlete, football, basketball, baseball in the class of 1947. The best male athlete in 1947. He was a football captain. The Boston Globe all-scholastic team for 1945. A member of the 1945 Tech Tourney basketball team. A member of the 1945 Class A State Tourney baseball team. And he was invited to try out not only by the Boston Braves, but also the Boston Red Sox. And we are thrilled to be able to honor Junie tonight. Come on up, Junie.
James Junie Franchos, from the class of 1947, was a three-sport athlete at Natick High School, playing football, basketball, and baseball. In football, he played on the varsity for 3 years, serving as captain his senior year. He scored 15 rushing touchdowns, 10 passing touchdowns, and kicked extra points as well. In his junior year, he was voted to the Boston Globe all-scholastic team. In basketball, he was a guard on the varsity between 1944 and 1946 and was a member of the 1945 Tech Tourney team. In baseball, he was a 3-year varsity player as a left-handed pitcher and outfielder, batting over .350 for the 3 years. He was a member of the 1945 Class A State Tourney team and was invited to try out with the Boston Braves and the Boston Red Sox. In his senior year, James Junie Franchos was voted Natick High School's Best Male Athlete. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1947, James Junie Franchos.
I would like to thank Susan Warnock for the introduction and the commitment to the Natick High Hall of Fame. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee, Kurt Buschenfeld, Robert Annabaldi, Robert May, and Michael Fair. And Mary Johnson, of course, the selection committee for electing me. It's truly an honor to be selected with this fine group of inductees. At this time, I would like to congratulate the other athletes, the exceptional teams that were selected. I always felt that was a privilege to represent Natick High School when I played football, basketball, and baseball for more than 60 years ago. It was a lot of fun, and it taught me the meaning of teamwork, which has been valuable throughout my life. Any success that I may have achieved on the playing field was because of my teammates who I was fortunate enough to play with, many of whom I still have as lifelong friends. I also was privileged to play for some tremendous coaches. That includes Coach Spross in football, Coach Slamman in basketball, and Hall of Fame inductee Coach Marshall in baseball. It was these legendary coaches that fostered many Natick High championships. I'd like to thank my parents for steering me in the right direction and showing me that with hard work, you could achieve anything. Finally, I would like to thank my brother Muzzy, my sons Jimmy, Danny, and Paul, and their families, Ann, Tammy, Brett, Jared, and Matthew, for sharing this moment with me. Thanks again for this great honor.
You know, there are a few names that are synonymous with Natick, and Junie is certainly one of them. One of the few people you just say the first name and everybody knows exactly who you're talking about. Our next inductee is another unbelievable guy, the wonderful success story. Edward M. Clasby was with graduated the class of 1944 as a three-sport athlete, football, hockey, and baseball. Bay State League All-Star, all three sports. Bay State League and Eastern Mass All-Scholastic Honors. Scholarship opportunities both to Notre Dame as well as Boston College. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Clasby.
Edward M. Clasby from the class of 1944 was a three-sport athlete playing football, hockey, and baseball. In football, he was a three-year varsity player as quarterback, punter, safety, and defenseman. He broke all punting, kicking, and passing records up through 1944. In his junior and senior seasons, Edward M. Clasby was a Bay State League All-Star, Bay State League All-Scholastic, and Eastern Mass All-Scholastic, and received a football scholarship to Notre Dame. In hockey, Edward M. Clasby was a three-year varsity player as a center iceman. In his junior and senior seasons, he was the Eastern Mass League leading scorer, as well as Eastern Mass League All-Star and All-Scholastic. He also received a hockey scholarship to Boston College. In baseball, a three-year varsity player at shortstop, third base, and second base. In his junior and senior seasons, Edward M. Clasby was voted a Bay State League All-Star, Bay State League All-Scholastic, and Eastern Mass All-Scholastic. He was a member of the 1944 All-Star State Championship Baseball team, which played at Fenway Park. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1944, Edward M. Clasby.
Julie stole a little bit of my thunder this evening, but I'm going to try to keep it under 20 minutes. And I hope that the opportunity to try some of the wonderful food that is going to come after this talk will kind of refresh you from what I'm going to say. I have a little point that I'd like to bring out in just my talk this evening, is that I really want to say a lot of thank yous. And these thank yous go back a long, long time. A lot of those individuals that I want to thank are not here, and a lot of those individuals perhaps are looking down on this wonderful, prestigious evening. And with that in mind, I've written a few words to keep my talk down, and I'd like to say good evening, everyone. Some of the most memorable talks that I've ever listened to lasted less than 4 minutes. With this in mind, I would like to thank the Natick Hall of Fame Committee, my sponsors to the Natick Hall of Fame, and of course my lovely family, for the opportunity to see so many friends from the home of champions, or as my children used to say, from the home of Casey's Hot Dogs. They're almost as famous as Doug Flutie's past. Sports of all sports means different things to different people. To me, sport is a testing ground for character, a chance to discover who you can become and to realize one's potential. It's about more than winning a contest. It's the commitment to a team and the discipline of training, winning games and losing games, and to set in motion, if you will, a metamorphosis of your character. For me, I found my identity capital in being a student athlete. Sport helped me to establish my goals and to develop a means to achieve them. I also experienced great joy as a student athlete. I had the privilege of playing with gifted pals and dedicated teammates. Two of them are here this evening. My great friend Bobby Palladino and my wonderful brother, Dick Clasby. I am forever grateful to these teammates for their support and encouragement that helped drive me to become not a better player, but a more balanced individual. While there was no question that I was surrounded by many motivated, hardworking athletes, but I was fortunate, as Julie said a few moments ago, to have received tutelage from some of the best coaches in the history of the sport of football, baseball, and hockey. Individuals such as my football coach, Henry Ploss, a BC graduate who said to me, Eddie, "You may lose a few games, but you will never be defeated." My baseball coach, Charles Marceau, also a BC graduate, who was known to say, "I don't coach dummies." And with that, if you were in his classroom, you understood what he was talking about. And lastly, my hockey coach, Charlie McManus, from, excuse me, who said, "Winning is a lot easier if you skate faster than the other guy." By the way, Coach McManus couldn't skate at all. He couldn't. In fact, we had no hockey rink in Natick. We practiced at a place called the Old Blake Seminary. And we used to practice in the evening, and we used to walk to it every day, rain or snow. Finally, sport also, generates change. In the generation since I played at Natick High School, a student athlete has become sometimes what is known as a commercial commodity. I hate to see what's happening in that field, but unfortunately it's true. While I was playing, winning was important, but it was not the only lesson to be learned. I had the pleasure of exposure to coaches and teachers who valued development of character first. Winning the game was the icing on the cake. I will be forever grateful to all these individuals. Again, I would like to thank everyone who helped to make this evening possible for me to join the Natick Hall of Fame family. It's the home of champions. I thank you, God bless you, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I just love this night. I do. I do. I love it. You love it? Good. Congratulations, Eddie. Our next inductee was just mentioned, actually. Bobby Palladino, class of 1943. Let me tell you about Bobby. Robert F., I'm sorry. Three-sport athlete. Outstanding Student Athlete Award in the year 1942. Varsity football, 3 years, captain his senior year. Varsity basketball, 3 years. Varsity baseball, 3 years. The Boston Traveler, remember that newspaper? The All-Scholastic First Team Football, got that award in 1942. Also in 1942, the Boston Globe, All-Scholastic First Team Football. 1942, the Boston Herald, All-Scholastic First Team Football. 1942, the Daily Record Honor Roll, and class president his senior year. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert F. Palladino.
Robert F. Palladino from the class of 1943 was a true student athlete. He was a three-sport athlete at Natick High School, playing 3 years of varsity football, 3 years of varsity basketball, and 3 years of varsity baseball. In his senior year, he was captain of the football team. Also in his senior year, Robert F. Palladino was named to the Boston Traveler All-Scholastic First Team Football, the Boston Globe All-Scholastic Team, the Daily Record Honor Roll, and the Boston Herald All-Scholastic Team. In addition to his athletic successes, the student Robert F. Palladino was voted class president his senior year and was the recipient of the 1942 Outstanding Student Athlete Award. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1943, Robert F. Palladino.
One thing you'll know, this will be the shortest speech of the night. I'm very honored to be entered into the Natick High School Hall of Fame, to join these great players who preceded me. You honor not only me, but also the coaches and teammates who made it possible to receive this honor. You made me, an 86-year-old man, very, very happy. Thank you very much.
86. I mean, are you kidding me? You look great. Congratulations. I am delighted to call this next inductee a friend and classmate. I mean, because when he was in high school, I was almost in high school, but I was at the cusp of high school. And Billy Pettengill was just a superstar, not only because of all the things I'm going to read to his credit, but because you know what? He was just a really nice guy. We were kids, you know, we just followed him around like, oh, and he was just always so nice to us. And you know what, Billy? That's what really matters. But let me tell you why we're honoring him tonight, for the record. He was a member of the class of 1964, a three-sport athlete: football, basketball, baseball, co-captain in basketball, Bay State League All-Star in all three sports, Boston Globe All-Scholastic, all three sports, the Record American All-Scholastic, first Natick High School player to score over 400 points in 18 Bay State League basketball games, the best Natick High School all-around athlete. He received that award as well. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1964, Bill Pettengill.
William Pettengill, from the class of 1964, was a three-sport athlete at Natick High School, playing football, basketball, and baseball. In football, he played quarterback, accumulating 1,400 yards in total offense, and was voted All-Star Bay State League, Boston Globe Bench Honorable Mention at quarterback, three-time recipient of the JC's Player of the Week Award, and Natick Herald Player of the Thanksgiving Day Game. In basketball, William Pettengill was the first Natick High School basketball player to score over 400 points in just 18 regular season Bay State League games, and held the single-season scoring record of 463 points, an average of 23.2 points per game, all done prior to the introduction of the three-point line. In his junior year, he was voted All-Star Bay State League and Boston Globe second-team All-Scholastic. In his senior year, he was voted Boston Globe Bench All-Scholastic, Boston Herald All-Scholastic, Leonard H. Foley Award for MVP, and the Eastern Mass Edward M. Smokey Kelleher Sportsmanship Award. Throughout his basketball career, he was an 11-time recipient of the Natick JC's Player of the Week Award, and in his senior year, won the JC's Player of the Year Award. In baseball, William Pettengill was a three-time All-Star Bay State League and three-year member of the N Club, as well as the recipient of the N Club Scholarship. As a shortstop in his junior year, he was voted Boston Globe First-Team All-Scholastic, Boston Globe Class A First-Team All-Star, Record American Sunday Advertiser First-Team All-Scholastic, Record American Advertiser Hearst All-New England First-Team, and All-American Amateur Baseball Association All-Star. His senior year, he was voted a Boston Globe All-Scholastic. As a senior, William Pettengill was voted Natick High School's all-around athlete. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1964, William Pettengill.
Thank you, Susan. It's a lot easier being a player or a longtime coach, as I was, than being up here tonight. Believe me. But I'd like to begin by thanking the Hall of Fame committee, the selection committee, led by their hardworking president, Mr. Kirk Buschenfeld, who does so much work behind the scenes to make this great evening take place. I'd like to thank my mom, God rest her soul, who saved all these articles and photographs and threw them in a box from my Natick days and preserved them in a box for my family and for myself for days like today, I suppose. I don't know what she did with my baseball cards. I didn't find those in the box. But oh well. I'd like to, my son Brad, who writes, I'd like to thank you very much for being the best son a father could have. Thank you for taking the time to rummage through that box of old stuff, to find the summary, and to nominate me for this humble honor. I was very fortunate to be able to coach my son Brad for 3 years as my starting second baseman at Newburyport. just totally honored, blown away. Coach Carroll knew a secret. Coach Bennett knew it too. Coach Stalin, Coach Christie, Coach Riniak. And hearing Tom Lamb speak, obviously, he knew it as well. And it took me 83 coaching seasons in 3 sports at Newburyport High School to figure this out, this secret ingredient, that there is only one possible way to follow your dream as long as we all have, and we all did, to have achieved such a long, successful coaching career as we now share. And that is to know that you have one person who stands behind you and supports you in every imaginable way. I'd like to thank my wife, Elizabeth, for being that unselfish, supportive, loving wife that you are. You are my secret weapon. I couldn't have done any of this stuff without you. Thank you. I'd like to congratulate the other inductees into the 3rd class of Natick High School's Athletic Hall of Fame. I know they are as proud and as humbled as I am to receive this honor tonight. I always felt fortunate to have grown up in Natick. My friends and I spent our summers on the playgrounds where we learned to compete. Natick provided everything for the youth of this town, from the 14 different playgrounds that we all shared, to the Little League programs, to the summer night basketball games. There was always a game to go to. At every grade level, all our activities seemed to center around competition through sports and meeting new kids from around Natick. I guess I am a true product of that Natick school system. I grew up in Bowden Lane, West Natick. I walked to the Brown School, and then I was bused to the Bennett Hemingway School, the Daniel J. Murphy School, the Center School, Coolidge Junior High School, Wilson Junior High School, and then finally to Natick High School. It was an amazing ride, and each spot, each stop, learned a lot and met a lot more people from Natick, and eventually when we all came together at the high school for our 3 years. Anyway, my friends and I looked up to the Natick High School athletes and aspired to be one of them someday. One athlete in particular whom I was greatly influenced by was Walter Riniak. He was the greatest all-around athlete at Natick High School that I was fortunate enough to see play in my time. I thank Butch for influencing me to be a hard worker, to follow my passion, and to be a better high school player, and later, a better coach. After junior high school, my friends and I became student athletes at Natick High School. We received our opportunity to play for Natick High's legendary coaches. Greatly influenced all of us. We learned about hard work, the game, and above all else, we learned about class. I always believed that it was a privilege and an honor to play for Natick High School. We realized how fortunate we were to play for these great men. One of the greatest teaching coaches I ever had was Jim Stalin, who came up here from Newburyport for this evening. Our backfield coach at Natick High School, who coached in Natick for six years before going on to Newburyport High School to form his own Hall of Fame career in becoming Newburyport's greatest football coach of all time. I thank him for all that he taught me and for bringing me to Newburyport to coach with him, and another great Natick alum, Paul Coleman, his tremendous line coach, who's also here tonight. But perhaps the best teaching coach I had at Natick High School was my basketball coach, Mr. Charlie Christie. He was a young coach then, but he had perceptive depth of understanding of the game of basketball. He was patient. He had a calming demeanor, and he really taught us how to play the game correctly. Thank you, Mr. Christie. You really did have a profound impact on my coaching career. How lucky Natick was to have all these great coaches. I thank these men so sincerely for inspiring me to enter the noble profession of teaching and coaching. It is no surprise that so many of us believe that Coach John Carroll to be the greatest of them all. He was the most influential person in my life, for sure. His blissful passion for the great game of baseball taught me the great lessons of life that still influence me today. I wish he were here with us tonight. I always felt his presence in my own coaching career right up until my final game last spring. Although I dreamed of becoming a professional athlete like all young men, it was Mr. Carroll who convinced me to get a good education, especially during the Vietnam War era, and accept a baseball scholarship down at Providence College, which I did. I knew really then that in high school that I wanted to be a high school coach. And my relationship with Coach Carroll continued throughout the years. And eventually, when I got the baseball job, we played home and home with Natick all the time, and it was a highlight of our season. Until one year, we graced the hallowed fields of Doubleday Field out in New York, and played at Doubleday against Natick. I believe that was in 1980. NHS won that game. That being Newburyport. That was 7-4. Mr. Carroll was not a happy camper, presenting us with a nice red, white, and blue Natick trophy to us to take back to Newburyport. My coach, my mentor, and my friend, Mr. Carroll, was the best. Thanks, Coach, for everything. I miss you. A special thank you to my family, the Newburyport coaches who came down here this evening, some of my former players, none of them are here. Some of my college classmates are here. Unbelievable. My football captain, Timmy Gilbert, one of the all-time greats, and my other classmates as well, and my friends who made this trip here tonight to honor all of us who represent the home of champions. I'm humbled and say thank you very much.
I was just asking Billy how long you've been married. He said 41 years. That's great. I can add all mine together and not come anywhere near. Billy made a very good point about Natick High, and I think that that's the theme, that we keep coming back to. The schools in Natick, the teachers in Natick. And I hope that you all know, and if you don't, I want to take a minute to remind you, we are saying goodbye to the unbelievable Natick High School in June. It's going to be an all-day and night event on June 16th. We're calling it a gala because really, we're not going to get all dressed up and be smarty pants, but it is a gala because we are going to give that school the send-off it deserves. Judy D'Antonio has been very active. She's got tickets tonight that she's selling. There will be day-long events, and they will be free, involving things for the kids, the whole family. But at night, we're going to have a dinner, dance, and a party. And nobody parties better than the people in Natick. And those tickets are $40, and we hope that you'll get all of your classmates and your friends and your family, and you'll come because it's going to be a great night. And see, Judy, you brought tickets, right, Judy? Good girl. All right. And lest anybody think that it is only male athletes who have made a name for themselves at Natick, I am very proud to be able to introduce from the class of 1997 our next inductee, Sarah Powell Bell. Let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. 3-sport athlete and captain. Soccer, gymnastics, and outdoor track. 1993 Rookie of the Year. Leading scorer 4 years. First Team All-Star 3 years. MVP 2 years. 1996, Natick High School all-time leading scorer, 43 goals and 37 assists. 1996 Bay State Conference Division Player of the Year. 1996 Boston Globe All-Scholastic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Sarah Powell Bell.
Sarah Powell Bell, from the class of 1997, was a three-sport athlete participating in soccer, gymnastics, and outdoor track. Known by her fellow soccer teammates as Peanut, Sarah was anything but on the soccer pitch. She was a four-year varsity player, serving as captain her senior year. In her freshman season, she was voted Rookie of the Year. In her sophomore, junior, and senior seasons, she was named First-Team All-Star by the Eastern Mass Coaches Association. Sarah was voted Team MVP as a junior and again as a senior. In her senior year, she was voted All-Mass First-Team All-Star, National Soccer Coaches Association of America All-New England, Middlesex News First-Team All-Star, and Bay State Conference Herget Division Player of the Year. She was the leading scorer on the soccer team all 4 years and became the all-time leading scorer at Natick High School with 43 goals and 37 assists in her career. In her senior year, gymnastics returned as a sport to Natick High School, and Sarah Powell Bell served as captain. In outdoor track, she was voted Rookie of the Year as a freshman, Team MVP as a sophomore, Boston Globe All-Scholastic as a junior, and served as captain in her senior year. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1997, Sarah Powell Bell.
Hello. I'm actually really nervous. I feel like I might pass out, seriously. I wanted to first say thank you to the committee for remembering my high school career in such a fond way. I loved my time here at Natick, and I hope someday to actually move my kids to Natick so they can have the same sort of experience that I had. I have loved in the past few weeks just sitting back and trying to remember high school and high school sports and what they meant to me and the people that made everything such a positive, wonderful experience for me. I first wanted to thank all my teammates. I had 4 years of wonderful, wonderful teammates, nice, awesome girls who were my friends, and it made it easy to work hard and to play for something bigger than me. When I was a sophomore, the senior class was amazing. And I remember that class because they were such good role models to me and such kind, nice girls that it just gave me a lot of confidence. And when I remember high school soccer, specifically, most of my memories are of me as a sophomore, and those specific girls being the leaders of the team and being the mentors and the role models. So I wanted to thank them specifically. One of them, my captain, is actually here. Where's Denise? She's still here? Denise Trubiano was my senior captain when I was a sophomore. I remember she used to ask me if I wanted a ride to like the pasta dinners and stuff, and I felt so cool. She'd pull up in my driveway. And now, 15 years later, our kids play together. So I'm so thankful for that friendship. I had Rick Copeland as a coach who was outstanding. He used to tell me not to be intimidated by anyone, that I deserved to be out there on the field against anyone. I could take on anyone. And I would say, but. And he would just stare at me. He was a man of few words. And he'd say, just get out there, get out there. Get out there, you deserve to be out there. Have confidence. He mentored me beyond high school. He followed me through my college career. He was at my wedding. He was just a great man. So thank you to Rick. My mother and father who are here, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you is not saying enough to them. still hear me? Okay. If you're not having fun, then why play? So, no loss was ever sad enough that I should feel bad for myself. And as long as I had fun, then work hard and just get out there. So thank you so much to Mom and Dad. I love you guys so much. And thank you again to everyone, and congratulations to the inductees. And that's it. Thank you.
And that's another thing that keeps coming up. In Natick, great championship teams, but it was always about the sportsmanship. It was always about the camaraderie. And you have to thank the coaches for that. That came from the coaches. It didn't matter who the coach was. The message was the same. Get out there and be the best that you can be. Certainly on the field, but be the best person you can be. And that's exemplified with our next inductee as well. Elizabeth Betty Stocks Christofoli, a name certainly very popular in Natick, class of 1953. Three-sport athlete and captain, field hockey, basketball, and softball. Varsity for 3 years, girls bowling team for 3 years, secretary of the Girls Athletic League senior year, physical education instructor for the Natick Public School System between 1970 and 1998. Between 1970, I want to be clear about this, and 1998. Ladies and gentlemen, we honor tonight Elizabeth Betty Stocks Christofoli.
Elizabeth Betty Stocks Christofoli, from the class of 1953, was a three-sport athlete playing field hockey, basketball, and softball. She was also a member of the girls' bowling team for 3 years. In field hockey, she was a 3-year varsity player, serving as captain her junior and senior years. In basketball, Betty was also a 3-year member of the varsity, serving as captain in her senior year. In softball, Betty played on the varsity for 3 years, serving as captain as a senior. She was also secretary of the Girls Athletic League her senior year. After graduation, Elizabeth Betty Stocks Christofoli returned to the Natick Public Schools as physical education instructor from 1970 to 1998. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1953, Elizabeth Betty Stocks Christofoli.
Okay, I'm also a bit nervous. Welcome all Johnson kindergartners to our first T-ball practice. Whoa. Sorry. Good evening, and welcome third grade soccer team. No, that's the wrong one too, sorry. I got it. Elizabeth Betty Stocks Christofoli. My mom was a wonderful and loving woman. She was a devoted wife and mother of 5 children. She worked as a physical education teacher for many years for the town of Natick before retiring in 1997. She became ill with ovarian cancer in 2000 and died in 2003. Growing up, we always knew that my dad was the athlete. He talked about his undefeated football team. He talked about running the 50-yard dash in the Boston Garden. My mom never really mentioned anything about her own accomplishments. We had little idea that she was a 3-sport athlete and a 2-sport captain. To us, she was our mom. She was our driver, our cheerleader, our cook. She was a great cook. Growing up with Betty as our mom was very active. We would go on camping trips, bike riding, and swimming at Dug Pond. There were always lots of games. It was my mom's love of playing games and being active that she had learned as a child. Not knowing Betty back in the 1950s, I want to introduce a classmate and friend who can shed some light onto who my mom was back in Natick High. Please welcome Patricia Turner Welch, affectionately known to the Christofoli kids as Aunt Pat.
Good evening. I first met Betty at Girl Scout camp in New Hampshire when we were both about 10 years old, and we both happened to gravitate toward the same activity, mostly sports. Had a memorable time as only kids that age can. Fast forward to our sophomore year in high school, Natick High School, where we renewed our friendship, sharing most of the same classes and sports activities. She had a lot to help me with, as St. Pat's offered very little in the phys ed department. She excelled not only in every sport available to gals at that time, which most certainly wasn't as extensive as today, but thanks to the representative Patsy Mink from Hawaii, who introduced Title IX in 1972, which, among other revisions, opened the door for more equality to the women's sports scene. Take note, Joan and Sharon, was it? She also excelled academically, earning National Honor Society membership, and had a keen interest in her classmates' well-being, not only during school hours, but long after those graduation ceremonies were far behind us. But one of the most important gifts she shared was her team loyalty, unwavering integrity, support for and interest in every member of the teams, both the guys and the gals. You might say that she was the yeast that made the dough rise in us to bring out the very best we could give. Liz carried that same spirit and enthusiasm for the rest of her life, always there to teach by example of the highest caliber, imparting her personality into everything she took on, whether it be with John, raising her daughter and 4 sons, whom I might add have most certainly inherited the best genes from both parents. Outside events, hosting her social gatherings, or making it a point to stay in touch with so many, so often, organizing fun and games at social gatherings, being the spark that kept the class reunions organized for the host of the many, many interests she pursued. Why, she even orchestrated her own remembrance celebration with humor, wit, and her passion for life for all attending the celebration. I've chosen a few words to exemplify her contributions to us. Sense of humor, always in the forefront. Ability to laugh at herself, contagious. Being always available when needed, uncanny. Ability to take charge, quietly subtle, comical, as anyone who attended her celebration of life service will attest. Unpredictable. Who doesn't have some special memory of her impish nature? Thoughtful, never missed taking note of someone's special occasion or acknowledging a gift or a kindness. Self-effacing, speaks for herself. Right now, I'm sure she'd be making a futile effort to change the subject. Sorry, my friend, it ain't gonna happen. At the risk of sounding trite, she made the world a better place, and we're all better people because of it. May her sportsmanship, spirit, and love always remain a beacon for us to attain to. Thank you.
Peter Smith is our next inductee from the class of 1957. He was the student athlete for the class of 57, a 3-sport athlete, all Bay State League and Natick High School MVP honors, member of the 1956 Bay State Football Championship team, member of the 1957 Class B State Championship basketball team, member of the 1955 Bay State Co-Championship baseball team. Senior year, he pitched 99 1/3 innings with 116 strikeouts with an ERA under 1. He threw a 17 strikeout game. No wonder he was the student athlete for the class of 57. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Smith.
Peter Smith, from the class of 1957, was a 3-sport athlete at Natick High School, playing football, basketball, and baseball. In football, he was a member of the 1956 Bay State Football Championship team and received All-State Football Honorable Mention honors. In basketball, Peter Smith was a member of the 1957 Bay State Champion and Class B State Champion basketball team, which was voted into the Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame in 2010. He averaged 31 points per game with a season total of 420 points, which included scoring 72 points in the Tech tourney games at Boston Garden. He was voted Team MVP, All Bay State League MVP, All-State Second Team, All-Tech Tourney Team, and All-Class B Tech Tourney Team. In baseball, Peter Smith was a member of the 1955 Bay State League co-champions and was voted Team MVP and Honorable Mention All-State Baseball. In his senior year, he pitched 99 1/3 innings with 116 strikeouts, had a record of 8 wins and 3 losses with only 11 earned runs allowed with an ERA of under 1. He struck out 17 in one game and averaged 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He also earned Team MVP and Honorable Mention All-State Baseball honors. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1957, Peter Smith.
She said I look exactly the same. Not quite true. Thank you, Susan. I'd like to introduce the long-distance travelers from our table over there. My lovely wife, Arlene. She, one of her favorite lines is, I was in the 3rd grade when Pete was a senior at Natick High School. Our daughter, Kellen, she's in the Brewster, New York High School Athletic Hall of Fame. I think it's only because she had 14 varsity letters and 5 All-State awards. My brother, Terry, he was an outstanding student athlete at Natick High, who was a great role model for me because he was in the class of 1955. I want to thank the selection committee and Kurt and his great group, and certainly want to congratulate all the other individuals and the team members for their induction in tonight's ceremony. I need to thank Pete Reynolds for nominating me and my brother Terry for letting a nice letter of recommendation. I was fortunate to play with many great athletes while I was at Natick High School. In the class of 55, my brother Terry, Tom Arthur, John Mano. The class of 1956, Joe Wignott, Bob Galani, and Jim Adja. In my class, Danny Copperzero, Butch Merton, Jim Peters, and Pete Reynolds. In the class of 1958, Dave Morgan, John Bozan, Clayton Cox, and Art Williams. In the class of 1959, Alan Lone and Dick Wells. They were all super athletes at Natick High School and great teammates. I want to go over a few of the fond memories of some of the championship teams that I was fortunate enough to play on. 1955 spring, we're playing Wellesley. We were 3-3 at the time. And unfortunately, Wellesley had defeated us 22-3 earlier in the season. I was the starting pitcher, and I gave up 4 hits in the first inning, and we're behind 1-0. The bottom of the 6th, 2 outs. Wellesley's throwing a no-hitter at us. Joe Wignott, our second batter, he gets a hit. My brother Terry got a single. Bob Galani got a triple for two-run RBI. John Mano, our captain, got a single. We only got 4 hits in the whole game. We won the game 3-1. We ended up 10-3, and we ended up co-champs tied with Wellesley for the Bay State League. My senior year in football, we were 7-1. Framingham was 6-2. Needham was 7-1. And I think it's thanks to Bob Palladino and that crew. We had won 14 straight Thanksgiving Day games. And I'm the starting quarterback, and back then we called the plays. This was the most nervous game of any athletic contest I ever played in. We're up at Bowditch Field, and in the middle of the 4th period, the score was 13-13. We've got a 3rd and 8 on our own 22. And I called the left formation, left end across. So I go back, and I was the punter at that time. So I go back about 9 yards. And Framingham, they thought we were punting. So they're scrambling down there trying to get ready to receive the kick. So I hit, I think, Jimmy Peters for an 18-yard gain. So we had a first down on our own 40. And then the rest of the 60-yard drive, I think I did what I did best. I handed the ball off to Danny Copperzero. He went about 50 of the remaining yards, scored the winning team D. We won 19-13. And Wellesley upset Needham, and we ended up being the Bay State League champs in football that year. In basketball, we're 16-0. We're playing up at Framingham. Halftime score is 36-32. And unfortunately for us, our most athletic player, Butch Merton, had 4 fouls. And so we knew he wasn't going to play the 3rd period. So we started myself and Pete Reynolds in the backcourt, Dave Morgan at center, Bob Garvey at forward, and Tom Cadillac, the best sixth man in the state, at the other forward. At the end of the third period, it was Natick 66, Framingham 38. We had scored 30 points in a period. That's before the three-point shot and before when the ball went out of bounds, the clock stepped running. So that was quite a feat. We ended up, as Susan already said, we were 21-0. We were Bay State and Class B champs, and this team was inducted into the Natick Athletic Hall of Fame in the year 2010. I want to recognize the great coaches of those teams: Coach Hogan, football; Coach Fran Carey in basketball; and Coach Ed Casey in baseball. These coaches just were tremendous. They knew their sport, but more importantly than knowing their sport, you had to be a good individual to play. If you weren't a good individual, no matter how good a player you were, you just didn't get to play for Natick High School. I also want to thank my parents. They both graduated in the mid-20s, and they were true Natickites. And they wanted my brother and I to experience the Natick tradition and the spirit and be part of the Home of Champions. And I think every athletic contest that I ever entered, I always felt that we were going to win. We didn't always win, but I always felt we would. And I think that's part of the spirit that is Natick. In closing, I just want to be humbled and honored. I'm very honored to be part of this great list of Natick athletes, and I'm thankful that my wife and daughter and brother can be here to share this honor tonight. Thank you.
Our next inductee is from the class of 1978. Joan Murphy is a three-sport athlete: field hockey, basketball, and softball. Outstanding female athlete in 1978. MVP in field hockey and basketball. Bay State League All-Star in field hockey and softball. 1977, first field hockey player named to the Boston Globe All-Scholastic Player Goalie. Ladies and gentlemen, Joan Murphy from the class of 1978.
Joan Murphy from the class of 1978 was a three-sport athlete at Natick High School, playing field hockey, basketball, and softball. In field hockey, she was a two-time MVP at goalie. In her senior season, she recorded 3 shutouts with a 1.42 goals against average and saved 3 out of 4 penalty shots. Because of her outstanding play, Joan Murphy was voted Bay State League All-Star and first Boston Globe Field Hockey All-Scholastic Player as goalie. In basketball, she was voted MVP her senior year. In softball, Joan Murphy earned Bay State League All-Star honors at center field her senior year. Joan Murphy was voted Outstanding Female Athlete her senior year and was the first female to be awarded an athletic scholarship in field hockey. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1978, Joan Murphy.
I'm nervous too. But thank you very much, especially to the Hall of Fame committee, for all their hard work. I feel very humbled and honored tonight. And over the past week, I have received many phone calls congratulating me on this award. And that person will say afterwards, "And you're going in with Doug." So after a while, I just finished off the sentence, and I said, "I'm going in with Doug." And then I asked my sister, "Do you think anybody's asked Doug, are you going in with Joan?" Anyways, I'm going in with Doug. I'm going in with some great football teams that were undefeated. And I'm going with Betty Christofoli and all the great athletes that are being inducted this year. So I am very humbled. Growing up, there were no feeder programs for Natick girls' sports. I learned in my Pinewood Ave neighborhood, home of the Arenas, the Jacksons, the Keefs. We played baseball at the field, ice hockey at the bog, and played basketball in our driveway with a homemade backboard attached to the garage until Mr. Arena built a real basketball court. To my neighbors, thank you. The first time I ever played an organized sport, I was at Coolidge Junior High. ninth grade, Kirk Buschenfeld and Ann Mahaney were the coaches. We played 2 games, one against Kennedy, one against Wilson. Practically every girl tried out, and we all made it. My thanks to both of them. In high school, playing team sports was fun. We may not have won a lot of games, but we learned, we developed skills, we played hard, and we just had fun. We developed lifelong friendships. I loved field hockey. And even though I didn't think I played it until 10th grade, and the first day of practice, I realized that all field hockey sticks were right-handed. I'm a lefty. I tried, but it wasn't going to work, so Coach Maloney asked me to be goalie, and I absolutely loved that position. The goalie equipment then consisted of, I think it was a golf glove, little pads for my legs, and that was it. I did have to wear a mask when I was a senior. Today, the goalie is covered head to toe. In basketball and softball, we tried and we tried, but again, we weren't great, but it was playing the game. The one thing I'm so thankful for is that I didn't have to wear the dresses and the turtlenecks back in the day as Beth Grady and my sister Jane. We had real uniforms. And to my coaches, Donna McCabe and Nancy Maloney, to Mr. John Carroll, who always supported me, and to my teammates, Maria, Lori, Lisa, Debbie, who are here tonight lending their support, thank you. In ending, I would like to thank my sister, my brothers, my sister-in-laws, my nieces, my nephews for all their support. And as I stand here tonight, I know that my mom is here with me in her spirit. And again, all my thanks for this special night. Thank you.
Congratulations, Joan. Steve Bakari, class of 1992. And let me tell you about Steve. Soccer. Varsity 1988 and 1991. 1988, Rookie of the Year. 1990, Middlesex News, First Team All-Star. 1990 and 1991, Bay State Conference All-Star. 1991, Eastern Massachusetts All-Star. 1991, Gatorade New England Soccer Player of the Year. 1991, National Soccer Coaches Association, All New England. 91, National Soccer Coaches Association, First Team, All-American. 91, Natick High School MVP. High school career record, 45, 15, and 17. Recorded 37 shutouts with a .65 goal average. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Bakari from the class of 1992.
Stephen Bakari from the class of 1992 was a Hall of Fame soccer goalie at Natick High School. A 4-year varsity player, he was voted Rookie of the Year in his freshman season. As a junior, he was voted Middlesex News First Team All-Star as well as Bay State Conference All-Star. As a senior, Stephen Bakari was again voted Bay State Conference All-Star as well as Eastern Massachusetts All-Star, Gatorade New England Soccer Player of the Year, National Soccer Coaches Association of America All-New England, National Soccer Coaches Association of America First Team All-American, and Natick High School MVP. Stephen Bakari finished with a high school career record of 45 wins, 15 losses, and 17 ties, recorded 37 shutouts, and had a 0.65 goals against average. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1992, Stephen Bakari.
Thank you. Wanted to start off by congratulating all the other nominees on their accomplishments. I wanted to thank the Hall of Fame Executive Board members and the nomination committee, and I wanted to thank Mrs. Johnson for all of her help in getting me here. I still have to call her Mrs. Johnson. I went to school with her son, Paul, and I just can't bear to call her Mary, so she'll always be Mrs. Johnson to me. As I was looking back to prep for the speech, I realized how special the time was of 4 years at Natick High. We always had great support from the community and the students, and at the time, I think we had the best playing facilities around. It was always special. We had lights at our field, and every game was really an event when we were home. I played for two very good coaches that were very committed and knowledgeable. One was my freshman year to junior year, Guido Vardelli, and my senior year, Lou Papadelis, who I believe ended up coaching 19 seasons before I retired recently. I have a kind of a story that I wanted to share. This past Easter, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he was congratulating me on the nomination. And he said, well, I talked to your brother. I have a younger brother, Scott, who works for the town. And before I tell you what he said, I just want to give you some background on Scott. He's 2 years younger than I am, and he played defense in front of me. And I don't know if you're familiar with soccer, but you have the goalie, the goalie, and Scott played sweeper, which is right in front of me, for 2 years. And looking back, I really cherished those 2 years of being able to play with my brother right there. But anyways, on to his comment. His comment was, well, if I wasn't in front of him for 2 years and doing all the work, he would never have any of those records or had any of those awards. So there's two reasons why I bring this up. Number one, he's not here tonight, so I can poke fun at him without any retribution. And the second reason is he's telling the truth. I was fortunate to play with some tremendously gifted athletes and talented soccer players while I was here. And I can't name them all and thank them all, but if you don't have good players in front of you and you're trying to save breakaways and point-blank shots, you're not going to do very well. So I have a sincere thank you to all those players and my teammates throughout the years. I wanted to thank my wife, Wendy, who we started dating my senior year in high school. And although we were only together a short time at Natick, as I went on to UNH and played there, she crisscrossed throughout New England to Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, throughout the 4 years. So thank you for your support and all that you did. One thing I wanted to say, today is my dad's birthday. He's 66, so happy birthday, Dad. I won't sing happy birthday, so that's, and it would be tough to quantify how much I would need to thank my parents for all they did for me throughout my soccer career and all throughout everything. So all I'll say is thank you, and try not to quantify that. One thing that I will bring up, though, my dad was my first youth coach way back probably 30-plus years ago. And at the time, he had the very good foresight that he took the Husky kid and he stuck him in the net. And he knew, I guess early on, that I would never have the ability to run for or chase the soccer ball around on the field for 90 minutes. So I can give a lot of my thanks to him for that. I think that's it for now. Thank you, and enjoy the evening.
Our next inductee is going in with Joan. Certainly a familiar name, Flutie. Doug Flutie, class of 1981. If you don't already know, Doug is a three-sport athlete in Natick: football, basketball, and baseball. He was MVP for 2 years, Bay State League All-Star for 2 years in all three sports, Boston Globe All-Scholastic for 2 years, and the Boston Herald All-Scholastic for 2 years. Certainly a remarkable career in Natick. But what's really most amazing about Doug Flutie is not what he did in Natick or what he did after Natick in terms of schools. What's really amazing about Doug Flutie is, as I mentioned before, there are some great people who have come from the town of Natick, and Doug Flutie is certainly one of them. Doug and Lori Flutie have done more to raise more money to help more families not only in the state of Massachusetts and New England, but also in the country. They have done more to help families who have experienced autism in their children, to help educate people who don't know about autism, and to generally help the world. So I am so honored to be able, it's about athletes tonight and athletics, but to first, a big shout out to Lori Flutie, and to introduce Doug Flutie from the class of 1981.
Doug Flutie, from the class of 1981, was a three-sport athlete at Natick High School, playing football, basketball, and baseball. In football, he was a 3-year varsity player, serving as captain his senior year. In his first varsity football game as a sophomore, Doug Flutie scored a 60-yard touchdown while playing safety after stealing the ball from the Winchester High School fullback. As a sophomore, he also kicked the last-second game-winning 38-yard field goal at Braintree. In his junior and senior seasons, he was voted team MVP as well as Bay State League All-Star. He had 23 career interceptions and was voted Boston Globe All-Scholastic and Boston Herald All-Scholastic 3 years in a row. In basketball, Doug Flutie also served as captain and was voted a Bay State League All-Star in 1979 and 1980. In 1980, he scored 36 points against Walpole. In baseball, Doug Flutie was voted a Bay State League All-Star in the 1979 and 1980 seasons, and in his senior year pitched 2 one-hit shutouts. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, from the class of 1981, Doug Flutie.
Joan, can I get a picture with you after? All right. Awesome. Awesome. And Sarah, my memories of my sophomore year playing were my favorite as well, because my older brother Bill was a senior that year, and it made it very special to me. And Bill, I was on that 1980 team that lost to you up in Cooperstown. In fact, I made the last out of the game by popping up. John Carroll probably was not too happy with me that day. But it has just been, it was a great move. We moved up from Florida in '76, and the family, we were headed to Marblehead, and it was getting late that night, so we stopped in Natick for the night. We were going to go in the morning and had finished the ride up to Marblehead, and as we came into town, we saw Home of Champions. Figured this is a pretty good place to stop, and we'll just stay right here and find a place to play. Of course, my dad, that's all it was about. It wasn't about his job. It was about where the kid's going to play. And that's the way my father always was with us. And, you know, there have been 15 Fluties now that have gone through Natick High School. There have been 4 Super Bowl championships. 3 of them had a Flutie on the team. I was none of them. It's been such a fun ride going through Natick. And it started, and Lisa DiPaolo was just reminding me. And, oh, I'm sorry, Vi. Thank you, Vi Tatuni, for my entire life. Anything good that happened to me in my life was because of Vi. We all know that. We acknowledge it every time we speak. She happened to be next to Miss Pettipitt back in Coolidge days. And Miss Pettipitt scared the living daylights out of me. I'm sorry. Thank God you were there next to her. She would comfort, and Miss Pettipitt would scold. So, back in the Coolidge days, when we first got here, I started playing football down at Coolidge Junior High, and Kirk Bushenfeld was the head coach. And he saw something in me that, I'm going to go back one step further, was the Pop Warner days when we first moved up. My father, Jim Arger, Dave Lamont, and a few others, my dad wanted a place for his kids to play, and we didn't have a football program. They all started that Pop Warner program that year. In fact, I got the 1 year in before going to Coolidge and starting to play. But my brother Darren, when he was younger, he had to go over to Wellesley to play. We still hate him for it. But it was those guys that initiated it, started the program. Kirk saw something in me that maybe I didn't even know was there. Kind of gave a heads up to the coaches up at the high school that, hey, when this kid comes up as a sophomore, give him a good look early, and kind of paved the way a little bit. I got up there, and Tom Lamb, I can't say enough about Tom. I could stand up here all night and talk about Tom Lamb, what a great man he is, what he has done for this town. It was pretty special, I got an opportunity to play early as a sophomore. Like I said, my sophomore year was very special to me because my older brother Bill was the returning starting quarterback. And I had a chance to play on the same team as Bill. We were struggling offense, and I went in at quarterback, but what we did was put Bill at wide receiver and me at quarterback and started throwing a football. And the two of us never left the field. He punted, I kicked. We returned punts and kickoffs. We both played on offense. We both played on defense, and it was a blast. But this brilliant move that Tom Lamb made, we're going to put the sophomore kid at quarterback. First game, playing at Milton, 4 interceptions in the first half I threw. Tom scratched his head second. We threw 4 touchdown passes in the second half. The rest was history. We started making plays and having fun. But, back at Coolidge, Kirk put the pressure on me to learn the offense. He had these cards made up, made me memorize the plays so I could call my own plays. With Tom, at the high school level, he did the same thing. All of a sudden, we got it. When we went in no huddle situations, I was calling my own plays. And they saw, we went to Norwood, and I called every play at the line of scrimmage. And that was all part of my maturation process that turned into what happened years later, was the fact that they saw something in me maybe I didn't know was there, and I started really pushing myself mentally. And that was the one aspect that I thought set me apart, was that the mental aspect of the game and playing football. And we went through those years. We didn't win championships. We had a heck of a lot of fun, threw the football around, and I loved playing football. For basketball, I played for Charlie Christie. Charlie Christie, nicest man I've ever been around, great coach. We had so much fun playing basketball. I thought he was going to shoot me, though. Again, this is the kid that thinks he can outsmart anybody, right? This is this cocky little kid that 1 second left, Framingham South hit the shot at the buzzer to basically beat us, and we had to go the length of the court down by 1. We call timeout. I go over, I grab the darn clipboard out of Charlie's hands, and I draw up an out-of-bounds play that I saw Maryland run Wednesday night before to try to draw up a offensive or a foul on them. Sure enough, we set a pick, ran the screen. We got the foul, didn't get the foul call. We're still chasing those refs out of the gym, Charlie. Baseball-wise, John Carroll, just a legend. I mean, John Carroll, you knew he was mad at you when the finger came out and the head turned, and he didn't really look at you. That finger was flying when Stephen Marciano, this is a few years, it might have been the Fortes years of baseball, playing down in Brockton. Stephen Marciano was the Brockton catcher. John Carroll didn't like a ball strike call, didn't like the call, walked out there to argue with the umpire. Stephen Marciano turns around. "We're trying to play baseball here, old man. Sit down, will you?" John Carroll got that finger going. And, it was, we played for some legends, some people that cared about the town, that cared about people. The kids in the community came first. Our athletic fields now are second to none. They were as the years have gone by, because of people like Jim Arger that have put the time and effort in, and everyone that raises money for the programs. It's just been phenomenal. My high school years, and I said it to the hockey players that are here. A lot of my classmates are here. Richie Costello going in as a hockey player. He was really a football player. They made him play hockey, but he was a football player. Brian Till, Bo Murphy, Dino, all you guys. Some of the most enjoyable nights were watching those guys play hockey, going to the state tournament and the runs they would make, and just watching Richie take it from behind our own net and just go end to end, weaving in and out and sticking the thing in the net, taking 5-minute shifts, never coming off. Guys hated you for that, Dickie. They wanted their playing time until the game was on the line, and then it was like, we take the puck and go, just stick it in the net. It was such an enjoyable experience, and before every home game, the team would go to Bickford's for breakfast and come back. And one thing I knew for sure was I had the best decorated locker of all the guys on the team because my girlfriend was a cheerleader. And she's still my favorite, and my #1 fan. Laurie and I have been together since sophomore year of high school. And it has been just an amazing. You talk about girlfriends following you through New England to your games and having to travel and all that. I made her go to Canada. I made her go to Vancouver. We were in Chicago. We were in Calgary, Alberta, people. We played a playoff game, minus 44, minus 85 wind chill. You don't play football, people. And that was back when Dougie was talking. Mom, I called Mom. I'm cold. Yeah. So, we've been through a lot together. She's been there since day one. 33 years she's put up with me. And Natick is just a big part of our lives. Thank you all.
Richard Costello, class of 1981. Okay, hockey. All-League and All-Star for 3 years, 1978-79, Bay State League and Massachusetts Rookie of the Year, Bay State League scoring leader for 2 years, Massachusetts State scoring leader, Bay State League and Massachusetts State MVP, U.S. National Sports Festival scoring leader for 4 years, selected to the USA National Olympic Team, and drafted by the National Hockey League. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1981, Richard Costello.
Richard Costello, from the class of 1981, was a Hall of Fame hockey player at Natick High School. In his 3 years as a member of the varsity hockey team, he was voted All-League and All-State All-Star all 3 years. In his sophomore year, he was voted Bay State League Rookie of the Year and Massachusetts Rookie of the Year. In his junior season, Richard Costello was the Bay State League scoring leader. In his senior year, he was again the Bay State League scoring leader as well as the Massachusetts State scoring leader. He was voted Bay State League MVP and Massachusetts State MVP as well. Richard Costello was the U.S. National Sports Festival scoring leader in 1978, 79, 80, and 81. In his senior year at Natick High School, he was selected to the U.S. National Olympic Team for 1983 and 84 and was selected 33rd overall by the Philadelphia Flyers in the 1981 NHL Draft. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee from the class of 1981, Richard Costello.
Well, I guess the first word that comes to mind is wow. What a night. A lot of memories stirred here, listening to everyone talk. First of all, you guys can stand up and keep clapping if you want. Then I only have to speak for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Now, Susan, I'm going to have to make a confession because you started tonight by saying that you used to go swim at Doug Pond and you were never dragged out by the head of your hair. And obviously I was. I live right down the street. More than once. No, first I'd like to thank Kurt and the whole selection committee, which I know must have been quite a task for choosing this year's inductees. And I feel very honored to be here, very proud to be up here. And I'd like to congratulate not only this year's inductees, my fellow inductees, but obviously what a great group and the prior inductees. It's a great honor to be here and be in the same room with you. Individual awards, accolades, they're great. Whether you get them through team sports or individual sports like golf or tennis, or even outside of sports, if it's in the business world, they're great. However, they're not possible without a great supporting cast. And I would be remiss if I didn't at least take the first few minutes to go through and name a number of people, some are here tonight, some aren't, that were my supporting cast, and I think it's a big reason why I'm standing up here today. So first, I'd like to thank the coaching staff when I was at Natick High, Coach Lakature, his assistants, Timmy Cirillo, Mr. Bates, Larry Forshner, Kenny Freites. Thank you all for having faith and trust and giving me the opportunity to come in and play. When I was a sophomore to the senior class, which as like Doug and a couple other people mentioned, that was a big year for me and a thrill for me because I got to play with my brother. So I'll start with him, my brother Pat, and his classmates, Tommy Myrick, Dave Fletcher, Steve Rich, the late Danny Ryan. Then on to the junior class, which a lot of my good friends back in high school had some great memories there. Billy Nee, Paul McGuire, Rick Halloran, Teddy Laverios, the late Paul Terrio. I'm going to skip over my class for a minute and go to the underclassmen as we moved up to become juniors and seniors. The underclassmen, Kevin Shea, Mike McBreen, Mark Reynolds. And then now to my class, which is really a special class. Not special because we played hockey together. It was special because we were in high school for 3 years together. but also we grew up together. We played other sports together. We hung out together. We did a lot together. And that group is Brian Till, Chris D'Antonio, Keith Bulgarian, Bobby Murphy. To all you guys, and I know a lot of you are here tonight, you know, thank you very much. And I hope when you look back on your careers and you reminisce about all the old times and you think of me as a teammate, I hope that, you know, you look back and say, wow, he made me a little better in some way. Because you all certainly made me a lot better, not only in high school, but for years to come after that. And I want to thank you. That's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. So thank you all. I'd like to thank my family, all my brothers and sisters, one of which is here. My oldest brother Bobby's here tonight, for all your support and encouragement. To a very special person, my mother, not only for her support and encouragement, but all the sacrifices she made, which enabled me to do what I was able to do, and for inbreeding and teaching me a strong work ethic. Thanks, Mom. I'd like to thank my immediate family, who flew in for this special event, which is really, you know, quite special for me. My oldest daughter, Jennifer, flew in from San Francisco. My son, Sean, flew in from Arizona. My daughter, Alex, from California. My son, my younger son, who's 18, unfortunately couldn't make the trip, but he did call me before I came up here tonight. And he had some academic obligations he had to take care of to graduate next month, which I'm really getting a little nervous now because my phone keeps vibrating. I'm hoping it's not my next-door neighbor telling me he's having a raging party. That's nothing I would have done, right? And last but not least, you know, as Doug mentioned, Lori, the person who started this journey with me was, she was with me for 2 of the 3 years at Natick, and for the past 30 years. My wife, Dorothy, thank you. You know, tonight has special meaning in a lot of different ways for everyone that got up here and spoke. And I want to share one with you that it has for me. One is that I think tonight is a validation of a core belief that I've had since I was a kid. I think it was embedded in me. I think it's part of my DNA. And it's something that I've preached to my kids throughout their lives. I live my life this way, and I'll continue to preach to my kids. But it's set your goals high, dream big, chase those dreams, don't listen to the naysayers, replace the words I can't and you won't with I can and I will, and above all, work hard, do the right thing, and believe in yourself, and you'll find success and you'll be very happy. And tonight, for me, this is the icing on the cake to one of the greatest chapters of my life. So I want to thank you all very much for being a part of it. And to the committee, once again, thank you. Greatly appreciated.
The Natick High School 1982 football team. They were the 1982 Super Bowl champs, as you will recall, beating Melrose 35-34. Bay State League champions, 11 wins, 0 losses. Division I Massachusetts Super Bowl champions, 12-game winning streak, ranked number 1 in New England, ranked 23rd nationally in USA Today. Led by captains Jim DiPaolo, Nick Luisi, Mike McBreen, and Dave Morrell, the 1982 team rushed for 49 carries with a total of 2,827 yards and completed 67 passes for a total of 1,190 yards, scoring 59 touchdowns and kicking 8 extra points. And tonight, we're thrilled to call up here to honor the coaches. Tom Lamb, Joe Kiley, Bob Galani, Jack O'Rourke, Bob May, Jim Von Yu, Tom Carr, and Scott Grady. Coaches, come on up. Just time? Okay. What we're going to do, because the other team has some very similar statistics, and we're going to be able to hear from Tom, is let me tell you about that team as well. The Natick High School 1983 football team champions, beating Peabody 28-14. Bay State League champs with 11 wins, 0 losses. Second consecutive Division I Massachusetts Super Bowl champs. 23-game winning streak. Ranked number 1 in New England. Ranked 10th nationally in USA Today. Led by captains Rich Adams, Glenn Chavis, Darren Flutie, and Jim Kelly. The 1983 team rushed for 397 carries with a total of 2,695 yards and completed 65 passes for a total of 1,006 yards, scoring 50 touchdowns and kicking 40 extra points. The coaches, again, Tom Lamb, Joe Kiley, Bob Galani, Jack O'Rourke, Billy Locouture, Bob May, and Jim Vanyu. Let's hear it for the teams and the coaches. But there's one more team. And one more team. The football team from 1984. The Bay State League champs with 10 wins, 0 losses. 33-game winning streak. Ranked number 2 in New England. Ranked 13 nationally in USA Today. Longest winning streak in the country in 1984. Led by captains Joel Christofoli, Paul Galani, Mike Fair, and Tim Hopkins, the 1984 team rushed for 394 carries with a total of 2,505 yards and completed 91 passes for a total of 1,328 yards, scoring 47 touchdowns and kicking 34 extra points. And the coaches, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Lamb, Joe Kiley, Bob Galani, Jack O'Rourke, Billy Locouture, Bob May, and Jim Vanyu. Let's hear it now for those and those coaches. Tom Lamb and Jim Vanyu.
Great to see you.
Everybody loves you. So nice.
All the teams or the coaches? I think there are some, thank you, Susan, and great job as usual. Susan's awesome, isn't she? She does such a wonderful job with this. She really does. First of all, congratulations to all the tonight's inductees. What a fantastic class. If there is a Hall of Fame in this country that is better than this Hall of Fame, the people that are already inducted, and never mind the ones that have to go, I'd like to see it. Seriously, I don't think there's a better high school in the country. So congratulations to everyone. I'm representing 3 years of fantastic guys here, and I would like to bring, there are a few staff members here that I know of, and maybe I've missed someone. I'd like them to come up first. I think Jack O'Rourke is here somewhere. Jack, come on up so everyone can see him. I know Bobby May's here. Come on up, Bobby. I know Richie didn't know this, but Billy Locouture came in. Billy, come on down here. Kirk Buschenfeld's up here. And I think Susan did a nice job of reading all the other coaches that weren't able to be here, and Mr. Galani and Mr. Kiley and everyone that she mentioned. I want to bring one other coach. We called her coach. She took care of all these guys. Mary Levitt, come on up here, Mary, with us. Come on. You can't talk to Mary without seeing her Super Bowl ring. You know that. Come on over. I've got to be brief here, but I do want, now I think Kirk wants us to let's bring up all those teams. First of all, the 82, there's overlap here, obviously, but the 82 team, come on up. If you're here on the 82 team. A number of them seem to have copied Coach Lamb's haircut for some reason. I don't know. That wasn't the intention, Choco. The 83 team, come on up. There are a few people here. And the 84 team members, if you're here, come on up. '84. And also, I tell you that while they're coming up, that streak went into the '85 year, as you probably know, and I think the class of '85 has a table back there too. But again, I've got to be brief because you want to hear from the captains. I just want to compliment. This was football heaven back in those days, if you remember. We were winning. These kids, these men were fantastic kids at that time. They were great students. We had a high five of being a great student, being a great athlete, being a great worker, being a great competitor, and being a gentleman. You know, that was on the wall, and that's them. That's them. I see Vi shaking her head. It's the truth. They're unbelievable. And we knew they'd be so successful as they went on in life. They were tremendous examples. Coach May said, and our son the same thing, what great examples they were for these 10-year-olds like Joel Lamb and all our kids, the Galani kids and the Kiley kids and the May kids on the sidelines. They wanted to be like them. And it was just tremendous to have Doug going around. You know, as you all know, we'd see our game. Hey, we won. Mr. Gately'd be counting it off down, and then we go home. Let's get home. Doug's on. We got to see him win the Heisman here. So it was football heaven. It really was. And I just want to mention, Vi, some of those support people that were so awesome. Vi Tatuni and her notes every game. I think we wore a pen out because she wrote notes every game we won, and there were quite a few, right, guys? Mr. Gately and Mr. Fair and Mr. Arger, who you heard the story, so I don't have to go into that, but these people and Vanjie, and obviously I wish we could call Mr. Carroll up because he had such an influence on all of us, coaches, players. It's my pleasure now, before I could go on forever, but I won't. Just saying they were very special times, and thank you guys. I'm going to introduce Nick Louisi, who's going to start introducing a couple of the other captains too after he says a few things. In my 40 years of coaching, he might be the finest competitor I've ever seen. The guy was ferocious. He's the nicest guy just what we wanted. Nicest guy off the field, but when you get out there and that ball snapped, watch out. Nick Louisi.
The 1982 Natick High School football team finished the regular season with a record of 10 wins and no losses and were crowned Bay State League champions. They won the Division I Massachusetts Super Bowl with a 35-34 victory over Melrose. They finished the season with a 12-game winning streak extending back to Thanksgiving the year before, were ranked number 1 in New England and ranked 23rd nationally in the USA Today. They averaged 35 points per game over the 11 games while giving up only 13.2. Led by senior captains Jim DiPaolo, Nick Louisi, Mike McBreen, and Dave Morrill, the other members of the 1982 Super Bowl champion football team were sophomores Joel Crisafulli, Mike Fair, Paul Galani, juniors Doug Adams, Rich Adams, Tom Alubel, Tim Bache, John Brown, Scott Bush, Jim Cardelicchio, Darren Chalk, Glenn Chavis, Jeff Davis, Scott Donahue, Matt Donovan, Steve Fangle, Darren Flutie, Jeff Gans, David Green, Mike Gross, Dean Hladik, Jack Isaacs, Mike Keene, Jim Kelly, Greg Lamont, Wes Mannerson, Brad Peterson, Reggie Steele, Tim Tancredi, John Williams, Mike Wilson, Hamza Zobar, seniors George Bradley, Craig Chisholm, Paul Dunn, Rich Estes, Bob Flaherty, Bill Gately, Jim Cass, Donnie Marsh, Gary Nelson, Jerry Rizzo, Don Olson, Bob Sniffen, Rob Thorne, Bill Whitfield. The coaching staff, Tom Lamb, Joel Kiley, Bob Galani, Jack O'Rourke, Bob May, Jim Von Yu, Tom Carr, Scott Grady. The 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, the 1982 Super Bowl champion football team.
Wow. It's been about 30 years. I suppose it doesn't sound so much when you compare it to some of the inductees that preceded us when they talk about 50, 60 years. But essentially, I prepared something. I want to read it. First of all, I want to definitely congratulate all the inductees. The two classes before, some of our teammates went into those classes, as well as all the inductees tonight. Congratulations to you. I certainly am aware of all the work that it took to get to this point while you're playing in your careers. But essentially, thank you, Coach. I really couldn't have asked for a better introduction. I appreciate that. Much of what we were able to accomplish as a team was due to the tremendous support of the townspeople and the boosters of the town of Natick. My entire playing time here at Natick High School as a Natick Redman, not one fan ever asked about wins or losses. They always asked you, were you playing, and good luck, who were you playing? Press coverage, part of something that just promoted and helped the program mushroom. We had Larry O'Regan at the Natick Bulletin, as well as Lenny Meggs from the Metro West News. It was great for the community, great for the program. And it just contributed to the community ties that were in the process of being built. Next, of course, John Carroll, the athletic director, provided us with the best equipment that money could buy. And he continually upgraded the facilities. We always had the top-notch facilities. The next, I just want to also say that we always wondered who arranged for that police escort at the town line. And we all know that ultimately it was him. He took care of it. Next, I want to mention some of the other people in town. Russ Fortini, he always had the best kept facility. The field was maintained perfectly. We also had Vanjie Sticker. He was driving the bus. He made sure we got there with lots of time to spare, safely, sometimes a little hairy, but safely. And he would just burst out into chorus with the Natick fight song. So for that, we certainly couldn't forget Vanjie. It was also Jim Arger, who, the boosters, they were the ones that got the permanent lighting installed in the field. Much unbeknownst to me, I thought it was a tremendous effort to raise those funds. Little did I know it took a couple of phone calls and just picking up the phone. So much to my surprise, it was that easy. But again, we're very grateful for the contributions of the boosters to the Natick programs. And again, these people, only a few examples of the contributors in the community that supported the team. And for that, we're all very grateful. And as, on behalf of all the student athletes, I certainly want to thank all of the people that were behind the scenes that made everything possible. So just in summation, the Natick 1982 Redmond team, after years of competing at the youth level against each other in junior high, and then playing again in sophomore teams together, the JV teams together, we walked out of Schaefer Stadium on December the 4th, 1982, with the Division I Super Bowl trophy, cheers of grateful fans, parents, and friends, and boosters. What we understood was how lucky we were to play for Natick High School and the opportunity we were given. What we hadn't realized at the time is that we were being taught much more than just football skills. We were taught to be leaders, to do the right thing, even if at times we didn't realize it. And so on behalf of all three teams, many thanks go out to the parents, coaches, boosters, the entire community. Thank you all. And with that, I'd like to bring up Rich Adams, one of the captains from the '83 team.
The 1983 Natick High School football team finished the regular season with a record of 10 wins and no losses and second consecutive Bay State League championship. They won their second consecutive Division I Massachusetts Super Bowl with a 28-14 victory over Peabody. They finished the season with a 23-game winning streak, were ranked number 1 in New England, and ranked 10th nationally in the USA Today. They averaged 33.5 points per game over the 11 games, while giving up only 3.6. Led by senior captains Rich Adams, Glenn Shavis, Darren Flutie, and Jim Kelly. The other members of the 1983 Super Bowl champion football team were sophomores Mark Bianchi, Bob Giagieri, Rocky Edwards, Al Pagarian, juniors Mike Arger, Shino Bethia, Brian Burke, Cliff Chase, Mark Chisholm, Mark Clough, Joe Condlin, Joel Crisafulli, Ed Cuddy, Sean Daly, Mike Fair, Fred Fleming, John Castaldo, Mike Gately, Paul Galani, Steve Gasmini, Mike Hamill, Jeff Hastings, Tim Hopkins, Don Hutchinson, Brett Nelson, Bill Patrone, Eric Ramston, Jeff Ronchetti, Steve Schneer, Bill Simcock, Aram Still, Jackie Tanner, seniors Doug Adams, Randy O'Clair, Tim Bache, Scott Bush, Jeff Davis, Scott Donahue, Matt Donovan, Steve Fangle, Jeff Gans, Kevin Goodrich, David Green, Mike Gross, Dean Hladick, Greg Lamont, Wes Manderson, Jack Murphy, Brad Peterson, Joe Sage, Reggie Steele, and John Williams. The coaching staff, Tom Lamb, Joe Kiley, Bob Galani, Jack O'Rourke, Bill Lacouture, Bob May, Jim Von Yu. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, the 1983 Super Bowl champion football team.
Boy, if you ever saw Nick put somebody right out of their cleats on the field, he did it every game at least a couple of times. It was amazing. We had one heck of a group of kids here that worked hard in the weight room, climbing the stadiums, I mean, doing it all. I'd like to say congratulations to the inductees tonight, to every one of them. It is really cool to see a lot of these old fellas. I can't call them old anymore, I guess. These old fellas from the old gridiron coming up. I mean, they truly started the Redmond pride. Way to go. That is really awesome. It is so good to see. Thank you. You guys set the examples from a long time ago. It's hard to believe it is coming up on 30 years. It is so good to see all these familiar faces. It really is. I wish we could do this once a week. This would be pretty cool. Everybody pretty much looks the same, too, I think. Well, some of us are thinning a little bit up top, but there are a lot of bald heads in here tonight. Wow. Dude, this is in vogue now, I think, right? Unbelievable. Thanks, Coach. A lot of what I'm probably not going to say has already been said, I think, and I'm crossing off a lot of stuff here that everybody's already said. So just a couple of quick things. On behalf of the team of 83, I first especially want to thank our coaches, our coaching staff, Tom Lamb, Kylie, Galani, Coach O'Rourke, Lacouture, May, and Von Yu. Without those coaches, we wouldn't have got as far as we did, no matter how much talent we had. We did have some good talent. Being a lineman in 1983 was very easy because you had guys like Jim DiPaolo, Dave Morrill, Darren Flutie, Wes Manderson, Joel Crisafulli. You didn't have to hold your block very long. It was like a couple of seconds and they were gone. You know, you're looking at the back of their numbers. So they made us linemen, Magnificent Seven. That was pretty cool. Thank you, Lenny. They made us look good. Most importantly, Coach Lamb, who pretty much ran the whole show. Like everybody said before, we can't say enough about this man that coached us. He taught us that the hard work, determination, sacrifice, that anything was possible. These values that he taught us would stay with us long after the football field. It stayed with us through pretty much our whole life, from talking to all the guys that have been here tonight. What an example he has set for us to follow. Those values I am looking forward to bringing to the young kids. I've been lucky enough to coach the junior Redmond for the last few years, and everything that he taught us and all the other coaches taught us comes back to you. And all of a sudden, you find yourself doing impersonations of all the coaches. I wasn't very good at it. Dave Green was really good at it. Is Dave here tonight? No impersonations tonight. There were some good ones. As I spoke to Lenny Megliola last week, he was asking me what was the most, what stuck out most in my mind about being the 2 Super Bowls and what was the most fondest memory I had. And I had to think about it for a minute. I think it was Glenn Chavis throwing up before every single game in the locker room. Just nerves. And then he went out and kicked butt afterwards. But no, honestly, the thing that came to my mind was coming back to Natick. The game almost to me now seems like a blur. It happened fast. It was incredible. We won. There were some plays that would stick out in your mind. The Donnie Marsh rundown from across the field, incredible. Gosh, I'd love to watch that on video again. But what really stuck out in my mind is coming back to Natick. What an amazing feeling, as Nick said, with the police escorts and the fire escorts and coming into downtown Natick in '82 and '83. I didn't know there was that many people in Natick. And they're in downtown Natick, and they are swarming, and we are riding the buses. Everybody remembers riding the buses through town, hanging out the windows, yelling, screaming. Then when we got to the high school, holy cow, I mean, you wanted that moment to go on forever. I think that is the most fond moment that I have, was coming back to Natick. Natick was such a supportive town for us, from the parents of all the players to all my teammates, and thank you to all my teammates for being great teammates, for working as hard as you did, for all those hours of running stadiums, lifting weights, doing it all. You guys were awesome. You all deserve to be here. Thank you to the town of Natick, especially for all your support. We are very lucky to be here tonight. There are several of our teammates that have passed and cannot be here tonight. And I would like to mention their names with a moment of silence for them. I know that we all have fond memories of them. And if you can just picture them as I call out their name, and I'll do that now. Matt Donovan, Chenault Bethea, Donnie Hutchinson, Howie Resnick, and Dennis Green. God bless them. We have just a moment of silence for them. Thank you. Enjoy the night, all of you. You've earned it. It was a great time. I'm looking forward to hearing some more stories tonight. Thank you, especially Coach Lamb and all our assistant coaches. And thank you, Natick. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce Joel Crisafoli, captain of the '84 team.
The 1984 Natick High School football team finished the regular season with a record of 10 wins and no losses, and third consecutive Bay State League championship. Due to the high school ratings system in place at the time, Natick was not invited to their third consecutive Super Bowl. They were ranked number 2 in New England and ranked 13th nationally in USA Today, and they held claim to the longest winning streak in the country in 1984 at 33 games. They averaged 33.4 points per game over the 10 games, while giving up only 9.3. Led by senior captains Joel Crisafulli, Mike Fair, Paul Galani, and Tim Hopkins, The other members of the 1984 Bay State League champion football team were sophomores Joe Arena, Andy Wild, juniors Joe Astancoa, Mark Bianchi, Paul Byrne, Mark Carafelli, Dave Kalari, Eric Cooper, Rocky Edwards, Don Eggert, Chris Fort, Greg Fort, Bill George, Bob Giorgieri, Wayne Hooper, George Haywood, Andy Hladek, Tony Indelicato, LeBaron James, Greg Levezzo, Mike McAvoy, Mike McTagg, Al Pogarian, Tom Powers, Howie Resnick, Dave Reynolds, John Sage, Tony Scarelli, Matt Simcock, Mike Tomasetti, Tala Zobar, seniors Mike Arger, Shino Bethia, Paul Bradley, Brian Burke, Cliff Chase, Mark Chisholm, Mark Clough, John Condlin, Sean Daly, Fred Fleming, John Gastaldo, Mike Gately, Dave Glazer, Steve Guzmini, Mike Hamill, Jeff Hastings, Don Hutchinson, Brett Nelson, Bill Petrone, Eric Ramstrom, Jeff Ronchetti, Mark Sandler, Steve Schneer, Bill Simcock, Aram Still, Jackie Tanner, and Kevin Tuttle. The coaches, Tom Lamb, Joe Kiley, Bob Galani, Jack O'Rourke, Bill Lacouture, Bob May, Jim Van Yu. 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, the 1984 Bay State League champion football team.
They went way over time. They were supposed to all have 2 minutes. So, well, my first thoughts of speaking last here tonight, I was really nervous because this is such a tremendous honor to be here. But I figured last night's not so bad because maybe half the people are left and the other half maybe had too much to drink. So, but you're all still here, so I guess I have to go through this. We were under strict orders from Captain McBreen to keep it tight to 2 minutes and keep it focused, so that's what I'm going to do. From all the teams, we want to extend a thank you to the tremendous support, impact, effort, and dedication of the coaching staff and the administration at Natick High School. The coaching staff, from the scouting reports and preparation to instilling winning attitude, encouraging and providing for off-season workouts, and for creating a positive team-first environment. Coach Lamb and his staff worked tirelessly to get us ready each week. He used tradition as motivation by talking with us before each game outside Memorial Field, standing at the tree, giving us a few words of encouragement, then having us run onto the field 2 by 2, first class, all 70 of us. It was quite a scene. Natick may have been more talented than some opponents. However, Natick always had better coaches. Against Framingham North in 1984, for instance, when both teams were 8-0, the coaching staff made a point to include a little-used buck trap into the offensive game plan. The play was a major factor in deciding that game. Framingham North was never able to solve the pulling guard, downfield blocking, and we won 21-7. The staff always made strategic changes on offense and defense to ensure we would be more prepared than the other team. Natick was never outcoached. And thank you also to the administration and Athletic Director John Carroll for supporting our efforts, from coordinating practices at Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough to getting game uniforms washed and dried, as well as providing spectator buses for away games. Those were the norm at Natick High School. On one rainy day in Norwood, 1983, we were drenched at halftime in a hard-fought battle for the Bay State League title. We entered the locker room where John Carroll was handing out dry undershirts and new white game jerseys for each of us. He also gave us the greatest halftime speech that day, and a close game became a blowout, 27-0 in favor of Natick. It was a first-class operation. We had respect and a successful atmosphere. We worked hard and we played hard. We were supported by a great coaching staff and administration. Thanks to everyone that made it possible. And thanks to our moms and dads, to all our families, who we tried so hard to make proud of us. Thank you. Lastly, I would like to personally thank my teammates. This event tonight has allowed us all to reconnect to remember who we are and where we have come from. I am proud, honored, and humbled by my teammates' efforts, their camaraderie, and their love of Natick High. There are too many to mention individually. However, the 14 captains especially who worked together on this deserved a thank you. So thank you, guys. Teammates tonight, teammates for life, thank you.
Congratulations to all of you and the coaches. I just have one more thing that I want to say. You know, I hope many of you know I've been working at Channel 5 for 32 years. I've been very lucky. I've had a remarkable career. And people say to me all the time, wow, television for so long. Where did you go to school? And I say, Natick High. My high school years meant more to me than any college experience, than anything I ever learned in a classroom after Natick High. It was all about the Natick schools. And I hope that for those of you who are not from Natick, who are here tonight because you are a friend or a family member, we've given you just a little bit of a taste of what an unbelievable, what an awesome town Natick is, and what a fabulous school system it has been and continues to be. One more round of applause, please, to all of the inductees tonight, the coaches. Congratulations. You are just a small example of why Natick is so great. And to the committee who put this wonderful night together, Mary and everybody who did so much work, you did a great job. I've been honored to be your MC, and I hope that you've had a good night tonight, too. Kurt?
Again, as many people have said, I also am humbled and honored to be part of this committee and to be able to meet some of the former players. It's been such an honor to look at, as we went through it and we were voting on the people for this year, just to look at the history. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And to be a little part of this is, again, just an honor for me to be up here. And again, I'd like to congratulate you all. Mention a couple other things. Members of the football teams, we do have paperweights and DVDs up here, so when we're done, if you can come up and get those as part of mementos for tonight. I'd also like to mention there's a table here of some of our Natick coaches and the coaching staff. We appreciate you coming here tonight. Some of these men and women are carrying on the traditions, the great traditions of former coaches here at Natick High. This night is young still for some of us, and hopefully we'll be able to stay around for a while and reminisce and see each other. If you haven't had a chance to see some people and what have you, hopefully there's plenty of time still if you would like. I thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed the evening, and we'll see you again next year. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to the class of 2012 Natick High School Athletic Hall of Fame inductees, and thank you for your contribution in making Natick the true home of champions.